Hey, what's going on, guys? So, chapter 335 spoilers just dropped last night. While I was reading the chapter, I didn't expect for the UA traitor to be essentially confirmed, and it's pretty much who everybody was thinking, even though it just wasn't confirmed yet. But we had our suspicions, and we all thought it made sense that this specific student was the traitor. So, without further ado, let's just get into the chapter. So, we begin the chapter with a picture of All Might explaining that the jets, based on what their bioscans had recovered from the battle between Star and Stripe and Shigaraki, have come to the conclusion that the Star and Stripe quirk, known as New Order, had been acting as a sort of poison to All for One, pretty much destroying an unknown number of quirks ever since their fight. The students believe that this is their chance to win. Since Shigaraki is weakened and the civilians have been evacuated, the heroes could definitely go on an attack. However, All Might says that it's very difficult to predict AFO's movements, and that the likelihood of it coming to a large-scale conflict is very high. All Might then begins to name the enemies that they know of: Shigaraki, AFO, Dabi, Toga, 6 near high-end Nomus, and the remaining members of the Paranormal Liberation Front, and all the other prison breakers that are still on the run. The heroes, on the other hand, have lost a ton of people too, over half of their own, so the students will have to train as much as possible. Bakugo, in typical fashion, shouts, saying that they've been preparing for a long time, that they've been training with the Wild Pussycats since the end of the war. All Might just didn't notice because he went to follow Deku after they left the hospital. Midoriya asks if Class 1A will help him unleash his full potential with One for All, but Bakugo obviously yells at him, saying that he wants to test the strength of his new cluster technique, and saying that it would be a good warm-up fight before the fight against Shigaraki and All for One. Then all the students start talking about their own techniques and how they wanted to train them. All Might remembers their first training at UA and says that those little eggs hatched a long time ago. They've braved the storm and became birds that will now cross the skies. He thinks to himself, Class 1A is strong, All for One. The scene then cuts to the villain's lair where Shigaraki is roaring in pain. All for One calls him another me and then asks him to calm down, saying that the quirk factor was damaged and they have to lie and wait for him to stabilize. Toga, which is somebody who we haven't seen in a really long time, is also with them. Shigaraki states that he hates Star, he hates all of them, and he wants this all to end. As long as the single person remembers All Might's face, that hatred will not cease. All for One is smiling, and he thinks to himself that because of the fusion of consciousness, he can feel Tomaru's rage. AFO pats him on the head and says that he did a good job. Even if he didn't steal New Order, he got the biggest wall out of their way. All for One says that although preparations are ready, he would love to wait a little bit longer. Dabi is getting impatient though and can't stand the thought of his father actually being alive and doing his job. AFO tells him that although they have similar personalities, there is a big difference between the two of them. All for One likes to plan multiple routes with each goal that he sets, and he spent decades creating new routes to cross this exact finish line. He says that although Midoriya has returned to the safety of UA, what will guarantee the villain's victory in this battle is the crucial difference between All for One and Toya Todoroki. I have many friends, states All for One. As he says this, we see a light gleaming in Shigaraki's eyes. He seems to be drawn to it, and then the camera transits a long distance until it stops at UA, where we see a silhouette of Toru Hagakure. End of chapter. Now, I have no idea how exactly All for One, or anybody from the League of Villains for that matter, know who Toru Hagakure is on a personal level, it seems like, or at least to the point where they've been able to communicate with her. Now, I don't want to jump the gun here or anything, but now this is just a theory, so hear me out. Maybe Toru Hagakure is a Nomu, because we know that Nomu aren't exactly dumb, or well, they can be, most of them are, but there are specific Nomu who can speak in a coherent manner, as we've seen with Kurogiri. So maybe she is a Nomu, and that's why we really can't see her face, because All for One had given her the invisibility quirk, so I'm not exactly sure what she looks like. But if this Nomu theory is somehow correct, then I'll be very, very surprised. I, for one, just can't wait to see how exactly the relationship between Toru Hagakure and the League of Villains actually started, and how they end up communicating as well. Maybe they meet somewhere on the low, you know, some back alley or something like that. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and think about that Nomu theory a little bit more, and maybe I'll make a video about it. So until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Sub up, stay safe, and peace.